Vengeance Day. A very interesting show. And I think that might be the title. There was development in the show for more than a few people. Now, do I believe people are going to like the development? No. Not everyone's going to like the development that I've noticed. But I do believe there was development for certain people that I believe was time to have some. So, let me give it to you like this. Watching DC, the crowd was good. The venue was a little tight, but it wasn't that bad. I had to say this for myself because when I was watching the show, it depends on your venue. Sometimes if you have a really big venue, you can do a lot of stuff. When you have a small confined venue, you have to be careful what you do. And I can say they did pretty good here. Opening, we got Stephanie Fakir versus Fallon Henley for the Women's North American Championship. Sorry. Ooh, weather's made my nose itch. Ooh. But we had the rest of pretty much the watered down version of Toxic Attraction, the Fatal Influence. I gotta tell you, I've never been fond of Fatal Influence. I didn't think they were bad, but I've never been fond of them because it's obvious what they did was do another rehash of Toxic Attraction. The only person that wasn't there was Mandy Rose. But I will say at least there was development done for Fallon Henley. Nothing really for Jasmine and really nothing for JC Jane. And that's sad. JC Jane does have a good range of being able to talk. She may not be one of the best wrestlers, but she is good enough. She does have the gift for gab. And I do believe that she can easily be developed. But there isn't that much development there. It was more for Fallon Henley. And a small amount when it came to Jasmine. Jasmine Nix. Match was fine. Was not a bad match. In the end, when they started talking about the first South American champion, I'm going like, you know what? They're going to make her win. I knew that they were going to put fast track on 3 women. Zarya, Stephanie Fakir, as well as Julia. I knew that sooner or later they were going to get the championships. And I didn't think they would take at least a year or 2 for them to be developed. They didn't even get that. They didn't even get a year or 2 of development to make sure that they could actually handle what it's like in the NXT crowd. No, they just threw them into the main roster, really didn't give them any development. And now what do we got? We got Julia, who was champion, and now Stephanie became champion. Yes, people, I want to make this very clear. I'm not oblivious to the people cheering for Stephanie or Zarya or even Julia herself. I'm not. But I'm objectively viewing this by how long-term this is going to be. Because sooner or later, they got to develop these women. No matter what anybody says, oh, I've seen them in New Japan, I've seen them in AAA, it don't make a difference. I've never, ever changed my stance on this. It doesn't make 2 fucking flips. What happens in the other promotions? They've been in. It doesn't make a difference. They've been to Pro Wrestling Noah, New Japan Pro Wrestling, AAA, GCW, WCW, I'm just bringing in a really old one, AEW, or TNA. It makes no difference. It counts on what we get when they're in there. Because they can have every bit of momentum, but if they don't book them right, eventually it will hamper them. And the problem I have is that it's not that they don't look like they could get over, because they can. They are getting over. But I truly believe they could get over now. I don't know what's going to happen in a year or 2. Because there's a very strong possibility they'll drop off the map. Because it's happened. The main roster has more than a few women who are now released who look like they had great potential to be used. Indy Hartwell is one of them. I haven't done a video on her, but I eventually will do one. But they had women that really look like they could do something great. Either they built up into them or they did them short term. But then when it's time to do the long term on the main roster, they flounder. They just end and we gain nothing. And I feel like that right now. I just feel like they just gave us short-term gains. They gave Stephanie Fakir the North American Championship just to make her happy. And they just gave the world championship to Julia just to make her happy. That's what it looks like. Because they should have never had those options. They should have been more developed. Have some people from the main roster come and deal with them. Have the people in the performance center deal with them. They barely done it. And if you say, dude, they've been on there for months. It's not how many months. It's how many years they can get some mileage out of them. And you don't get it. Short-term gains don't mean long-term gains. They could if they develop them after they've seen that they can continue with their short-term gains. And that's going to be the big question. In 6 months' time, will Stephanie still be important on NXT TV? Will Zarya or Julia still be important? I don't know. Now, let's move on to the next match. The next match is the tag team match. Frazier and Axiom versus Iramura and Briggs. Now, I gotta say this. I've seen Iramura a little bit now, if I'm pronouncing his name right. I like him. He's got personality. He has personality. For a Japanese wrestler, he feels larger than life, and I actually like that. And they put him with Briggs, who is now being very loud, very brash, very vocal about stuff, which goes along with his partner. And I will tell you, they got chemistry. This match was, I believe, the best match overall of any of the matches. And I know I'm not saying anything bad about all the other matches. Many of them were good. A few were very good. But this was the best one overall. Not because I'm a big tag team wrestling fan, but I do love tag team wrestling. If you watched it, the character of Iramura was great. Particularly, he's doing sumo moves. He's making sure he's keeping up with the combos when it comes to the Briggs. You can feel how I do feel the chemistry between them. And when it came to Axiom and Frazier, they worked very well with them. I'm hoping they'll do another match with them. This was a very good match that I believe was the best of the show. I don't know about anyone else. I'm sure no one else is going to agree. They probably won't. But for me personally, I do believe this was the best match. Flat out. In the end, Axiom, Frazier, they weren't getting a job here. But I don't agree about being really friendly with Iramura and Briggs. A part of me kind of wish, yes, they can show some level of respect, but I would have liked to see them walk away. Yeah, they said, yeah, we respect you. Iramura shows his respect. Briggs shows respect. He said, yeah, but then they just walk off. A little frustrated. Doesn't mean they're breaking up as a tag team because they just became one. But I kind of wanted them, since they both have the type of personality that we want this. We just lost it. Damn it, we were so close. Hey, yeah, fine, we go. And they just walk off. And they become more aggressive. That's what I feel like should have happened. Next, the strap match. Now, I know not everyone likes Eddie Thorpe. They really think he's very generic. Very boring. I know there's more than a few people think Eddie Thorpe is boring. And let's make it very clear. When he first came in, he had no character whatsoever. Just being Native American don't mean a damn thing. It doesn't mean anything. He had to have more. And ever since he became so frustrated and then turned heel, he has more personality. Not everyone's going to like it, but I do believe it is a personality that he can develop if they write for him and if he's willing to push it. And this strap match was an indication of it. It was a good strap match. Was it the best I've ever seen? No. But it was good. I did enjoy the strap match. In the end, I was surprised that Eddie won. I am very surprised Eddie won. And the question is now, because he won, how are they going to develop him next? And more, what are they going to do with Trick Williams? You got two developments right now. Trick Williams developed because he's been losing. Now, Eddie Thorpe has also got some development. But will they continue doing any development, or are they going to leave him exactly as he is, always with a chip on his shoulder, the way he is, and he carries that strap wherever he goes? Now, if he does, I don't think I've ever seen anybody just keep carrying the strap in recent time. Let's make this very clear. On nation and international TV, other than AAA, I have not seen either TNA, when it was Impact, AEW, not really much other than Swerve Strickland carrying a chain around his neck. If this continues, that he keeps that strap with him and he just whoops the ass at everybody, not constantly doing strap matches, but whooping someone's ass with it, constantly getting people with it, that will be different. That strap could help him get over more. That's just me. You got some below. Next, the match I was very interested in. What were they going to do with Devon Evans? Look, let's make this very clear. Devon did not win. And I expected him not to win. If they allowed him to win, that would have been bad booking. He needed development. Let's make this very clear. When Devon Evans first came in, the young boy came in, I had no interest in him at all. None. He was no better than Frazier, Axiom, Dragon Lee, Rey Mysterio, you name it, he was no better than them. No better. Athletic ability meant nothing. As I said to many people, it doesn't make a difference where he was before. It counts what they do with him now. And for so many months, they really threw him a lot of very high-profile people and put him in high-profile positions, which I felt did not work. Didn't. It did not work. It didn't work. But here, where supposedly he did get a fracture of his jaw, supposedly. He could have actually, but they went with the story that he got a fracture of the jaw and that he has a problem now if he wrestles too much and not fully healed yet. This could be permanent and he could never wrestle again. He would be disqualified. And Ethan Page did this. And I'm like, okay, we now have something with him. A situation better than what he had when he was in Wesley. Way better. This one was different. Now, he can't just fly around and do stuff or just be friendly and be smiling. Lucky Stiff. My teeth are still messed up. But you see what I'm talking about. Him no longer smiling, showing anger. And now he has to deal with a situation where he has to wear a mouthpiece because of the storyline. This was the best development I've seen of Devon Evans since he joined WWE and Impact, and pretty much hasn't gone to Impact TNA yet. I think maybe they may send him there eventually. I think. But NXT, since he's been there, this is the most development. And what I liked, he sold the ankle injury. A lot of high-flying wrestlers don't always sell it correctly. They'll act like they're going to sell it, but then they start running their asses off after a few minutes. No, Devon Evans sold the damn ankle injury when he got his leg trapped in it. Before that, he tried to crush the head of Ethan Page on the steps. He gets swept up and his leg gets caught in the steps. So he sold it. And I'm so glad he did. I loved it. Finally, someone understood. Someone must have went to him and said, look, you really want to get over, you got to sell injuries. You got to sell it. Now, did he oversell it? Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, let's make it clear. He did oversell the injury a little bit. But let's make it clear. This is the first time I've ever seen him sell it correctly. If he oversold it a little bit too much, I'm not having a complaint about it. I'm just hoping he'll continue that whenever they do injuries. Supposedly, when he's in a match or in a storyline, he sells it because they don't do it. But he lost. Now, what's the question for Ethan Page? What's going to go on with I'm so curious. Devon Evans, what would they do with him? Because when it was all said and done, and he was bleeding from the mouth because Ethan punched him out of the air, his mouthpiece went flying, and he was done. He was bleeding from the mouth again. So what does this mean? Next to Ethan bleeding from the nose, because I know he did get him pretty good on the ring skirt. Made his nose bleed. But now what does this mean for Devon Evans? And what does this mean for Nathan Frazier? No. About to say Nathan Frazier. I'm thinking about Ethan Page. You know what I like to see? Ethan go up against Nathan. And Devon Evans gets angry at Nathan Frazier. I want to see him start acting out. I want to see him where he was friendly to people before. This is the Devon Evans. I'm saying this. I'm saying it for Devon. Since he lost, and he may still be able to wrestle, I want him to get aggressive. I want him to just be angry and lash out because he's never had to deal with losing in this situation. Let him go after Nathan Frazier or Axiom or anyone else that he was very friendly with. Let him get angry. Let's move on. The next match. This is where I feel like something was missing. 3-way. Femi, Grayson Waller, and Austin Fury. It felt like there was something missing in the equation. Wasn't a bad match. I didn't hate the match. The story was okay. But it felt like there was something missing. I don't know what it is. I don't know. It wasn't 100% bad on Austin Fury's part. He started getting aggressive towards pretty much Grayson Waller and him was always going to break up eventually. And it always looked like Grayson was going to be the heel and Austin Fury was going to be the face. We've known this for quite a long time. But it's like in this match, and they did what they need to do. They did all the checklists. Arguing between each other, check. Pushing each other around, check. Trying to get the ref pulled out of the ring or keep you from winning by hitting you both. Yes, they did all the check marks, one after another. But it felt like there was something missing. I don't know what it is. It was something small. I just don't know. It doesn't mean it was bad. It just feels like there was something missing that was needed. And I don't know what it was. In the end, it was... Who was the one who ate it? It was Grayson Waller, I believe, who was the one who ate the pin. Because he was the one that nailed Austin and he flew right out the ring. And he had to take the powerbomb. And that's what happened. The question now is, when they start developing the storyline, will Ubafemi be involved? To be honest, I think he should be. Because at this point, let's make this very clear. I'm not against Ubafemi. Woo! Problem I see is they need to develop his character. He needs more development as a character. Not just as a wrestler, because he's doing very well as a wrestler. He's been throwing people around very well. And I believe one point he threw Nathan Frazier. No, it was Austin Fury. He just threw him right at not Nathan Frazier. I don't know why I keep getting Nathan Frazier and Grayson Waller mixed up. Don't know why. I don't know why. You know how the brain works. Sometimes it happens. I'm dyslexic. It always happens. I'm a nutty dyslexic. I mess up. But let's make this very... Oh, I'm bumping into my tripod. Let me make this very clear. We are going to have a feud between Austin Fury and Grayson Waller. It's going to happen. But I do believe that we need to have Ubafemi at least watch it. And whoever wins their feud goes up against Ubafemi. I do believe that's what the situation needs to call for. That's just me, guys. Tell me below. The last match. Let's make this very clear. The Fatal 4-Way was not a bad match. Julia, Cora Jade, Bayley, Roxanne Perez. The person I felt that could have been the winner of it, but I knew she wasn't going to win, was Cora Jade. Because they've been allowed to go to TNA. She's been going back and forth. And she's done some pretty good development. Even though she did botch a bit when she was with Xia Brookside, I felt that she did a good job going back and forth between the two companies. So I felt if there was going to be anybody different, she could do it. But as I said earlier about Stephanie Vakir and Zarya, Julia was not going to job here. She was just not going to lose. And when you see the situation, I knew flat out Julia was not going to lose. But they had to develop a story for Roxanne Perez, Cora Jade, and Bayley, at least to a certain extent. Bayley's going to be doing more on the main roster than she will be doing on NXT. At least that's what I think. But let's make this very clear. It was going to be Julia. I do think that we are going to have a feud between Cora Jade and a prodigy It's going to happen. There's no way it's not going to happen. It's going to happen. But I don't know what's going to happen with Bayley. I do not believe she'll be there for very long. And Julia will be the goal. Yes, at the very end, Stephanie Vakir, she stood in the ring with Julia because that's what they both wanted. One has a North American champion, one is a world champion, fine. So I knew this was going to happen. Now, I know you're going to ask, dude, you're not talking about those guys who attacked Uber Femi and the others early in the night. I'm not going to talk about them. Yes, they had their moment. Yes, I know I could also talk about what happened with Stacks. Stacks, I'm going to leave that alone for the next NXT review. Like with those guys from the PC, I'm not going to talk about them because right now, don't know much about them. And to be honest, they kind of feel like a version of the Shield. It feels like they're going to do it. It feels like they're going to be the Shield 2.0. Just, it's going to be 4 people instead of 3. That's what it feels like. I cannot tell you if that is the right thing to do or not, but I am going to leave it alone because I want to leave it. Like, when it comes to a Ricky Starks, he's going to show up. Yes, he did talk about it, but I'm not going to mention any more than other than he's going to be on NXT. Stacks is going to have his match. I want to see that. And then these 4 guys, I don't want to talk about until we see what's going to happen in NXT this Tuesday. That's what I think. Not think. I just think it's interesting. We have development for these people. Some of them more development than others. And that's not a bad thing. I'm actually quite happy about this. That there is some level of development. Let's see how far it goes. And I hope you enjoy this Vengeance review. Please give me a comment below. And you should be seeing another Gum Goodness tomorrow. Peace.